Well, hey there, YouTube. What you're looking at right now is my broken left-hand side front stay on my FJR 1300. That's this piece right here. This right here is where it's cracked. Might be hard to see right now because it's basically sitting where it needs to be, but this is the problem. This is broken, and my mirror can do this, which is not a good thing. So this is from being tipped over in the driveway because my wife accidentally backed into the bike because she did not check her rearview mirror as well as she should have, and it was an accident. Things happen. So anyway, I'm repairing the damage that happened, which includes replacing the mirror, the side panel, and a few other things while I'm at it. But for the most part, there's other sources already on YouTube and the internet for replacing things like the mirror and in your side panels and whatnot. But there, at the moment, to my knowledge, is no video showing you how to replace the front stay. And telling you right up front that it's hard. It's not easy doing this job. I haven't done it yet, and to be honest, I am going to have to figure out how to do it as I demonstrate it. So I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm estimating no less than 2 hours, potentially 4 hours. I really don't know at this point. By the end of this video, I'll be able to tell you how long it did take, although I'll most likely be working on it in segments as time allows for my schedule. But the parts to repair the bike are supposed to arrive later today via UPS. From Part Shark is where I ordered the parts, and that was the best price online that I was able to find. The shipping isn't extremely fast, but then again, it, like I said, is the best price, and so that I found at least. So I'll list those prices somewhere in the video, maybe in the description or somewhere here on the screen about this point. But so this piece is the front stay, also sometimes called the front subframe. But the proper name is stay, S-T-A-Y, and it is some sort of an injection molded or cast aluminum. And if the bike is tipped over, at least very hard, it's very easy for this piece right here to crack. And it's well, it was about just shy of $200 for the stay, to replace the stay. A lot of people who have had this happen have used JB Weld or Permatex or some sort of strong epoxy resin to glue this back together. This particular piece where it breaks is not supporting a huge load. It's just your mirror, so absolutely you could JB Weld this back together and it would probably be just as strong as and as good as new, and that would be your cheap and easy fix. And if this bike was a little bit older, I would definitely be going that route. But because I'm already going to be removing the side panels and replacing the mirrors to repair other damage that happened either in this tip over or just from other accidents, I don't know. It's 2017 and this is a 2015 motorcycle, and when my wife backed into it, it was not the first time this bike's been tipped over. It was the first time this bike's been tipped over with no one on it, where it was just allowed to topple. You know, I've had accidents where I've been standing on it and lost my footing, and the bike was able to tip over at no speed with me on it, and I basically did everything I could to try and bring it back up, and it just, once it gets away from you, it's almost impossible unless you have He-Man strength once it starts tipping over to bring it back up. And so nonetheless, it may have tipped over, but it was tipped over as gently as possible while I was on it, and I tried to set it down as gently as I possibly could. before getting off and having to pick it back up. And yeah, there were some minor scratches from those incidents, but the scratches were relatively minor, and definitely this piece did not break in those incidents. But when my wife backed into the bike and pushed it over off its kickstand, it definitely went over with enough force to break this piece. I don't know, it's only a 2-year-old bike, and I don't want to have to be JB welding pieces on it. It's just, I know I know it would be fine, and I know it would be covered and you wouldn't see it, but it bothers me to know that's there on a bike that is still so new. And I just, I'm going to go ahead and replace it this time, and hopefully it never happens to me again, and I don't have to worry about it. But in the future, I mean, I certainly wouldn't blame you if you decided to JB weld that and call it good. Some people will say make an insurance claim, and yeah, I suppose you could do that, but my insurance, it is full coverage, but I've got a $500 deductible, and I was able to buy all the parts I needed to fix for around $800, and so I'd only be saving myself $300 by making an insurance claim, and then most likely my insurance rates would go through the roof because of having a claim. So I don't see that there's going to be any advantage in having making an insurance claim for this. And then, you know, I'm going to have to take it to the Yamaha dealer and trust them to take it all apart and put it back together, and I don't really trust my Yamaha dealer where I am to do that. I don't trust most dealers. I'm just I'm a firm believer that if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And so I'm going to replace it, and so hopefully that explains the methodology. And of course I'm making this video so that hopefully I know plenty of other people out there have had their FJRs tip over, and then they can reference this video to see how to get the stay out and how much work it really is, and make a decision from there. So first thing you have to do to even be able to expose the stay is remove this plastic trim that's around the dash, and that comes out with 6 fasteners. There are 4, depending on your exact model year, either Phillips head screws or Allen key screws that come out, and 2 quick connect push tab type screws, which you have to also remove. And then it just kind of snaps out of this, you know, carefully snap it. It'll sound and feel like it's going to break, but it's meant to snap out once those 6 fasteners are removed. And you take off the knobs. Also, I forgot to mention, for your headlight adjustment. And that piece snaps out. That has been covered in other videos in various places. So hopefully, if you need to see that in detail, you can find other sources. Particularly Brian Glenn's videos, either where he removes all the panels to do a coolant change, or when he had to repair his side panels for crash damage. There's other sources if you need to see that, is the point. But 6 fasteners, this comes off. You can see whether or not your stay is broken. And I think the very next thing I'm going to be doing is unbolting these 2 mirror bolts right here. So these will be coming off, and then taking off the windshield. That'll be the next steps. So a 10mm socket or combination wrench will loosen the 2 nuts that hold your mirror and mirror mount in place. Something to note is that on this damaged side, one of the nuts was missing. So there's only one here for me to take off. That could be due to being tipped over before, or this time, I don't really know. Or maybe it wasn't torqued well at the factory and it vibrated loose. Or maybe, I really don't know why I only have one nut holding my mirror on, but I do on this side. The other side has both like it should, but just something I'm observing here. And so now I'll do the same on the other side. But that's enough to take off your mirror and the bottom mount. Next, we're going to take off the plastic covers that cover the windshield bolts and then the windshield itself. The plastic covers are held on here by a 4mm hex screw. Hex bolt thingy. Just like that. And once that's loose, yeah, then they just pop out. But that's that. That takes that off. Okay, now we need a Phillips screwdriver to take off the windshield with these 6 plastic screws. Okay, you need a 5mm hex key to take these loose. Okay, that's off. Remove 2 screws on either side of the nose cowling, which are held in place with a 4mm Allen key. Right up there, if you can see it. Okay, so now there's a Phillips head screwdriver on either side of the nose cowling right there where the screwdriver's stuck into, and identical on the other side. Okay, so notice down at the bottom, it's got this long tab that slides straight down. Don't pry from the bottom because this has to come out last. Okay, and this piece and this piece snap into here, and then there's these clips up here that snap into this. Start at the top on both sides and evenly wiggle and carefully unsnap these pieces, and then lift up from the bottom. I believe the next thing that has to happen is removing of both side panels in order to be able to access the remaining fasteners that hold the headlight assembly and other things on. So first thing to do is remove the battery access panel, which is this one 4mm hex screw here. And I recommend putting your fasteners for various parts in Ziploc baggies so you remember where they went. I need to go get some more Ziplocs. And there's a quick connect right in here. You just got to push it in. If I can see it. You're not going to see it here, but it's right here on the inside of the plastic piece here. That pushes in, and then the connector will pull out like that. So you got to push that piece in. It's flush installed, and so these 2 pieces. And then there's some quick connects or tabs that we'll have to, whoop, I'm going to drop things if I try and do that. So to take off this panel, you got some plastic fasteners that have to unsnap. Just carefully pull this out of here, and this exposes your battery. That's your battery panel. To remove the right side panel, we're going to start by loosening this Phillips screwdriver up here under the battery panel. Phillips screw. Right there, okay, that's out. And your white connector here is your turn signal, which needs to be disconnected. Remove the triangle-shaped piece down here, which has a quick connect right here, a quick connect right there, trying to do it so you can see, and a Phillips screw right here. And then this plastic piece right here comes out. There are two additional quick connects right here and right here that have to also come out in order for you to completely release the triangle piece. On the glove box side of the bike, there's a final quick connect right here that has to come out. And screw that you twist by hand. This comes out. And then your whole side panel slides forward. I really kind of need two hands to do it, but there's nothing else. Just use your hands, not any tools. I've tried to use a tool and I scratched mine earlier, which is why it's also getting replaced on one side. But just slide these forward. If it's never been off before, it can be a little bit stubborn. Just work it evenly forward. That way it'll come right off. Remove the side panel by taking out your 4mm Allen screws. Okay, that's one. One down here next to the water pump and exhaust. Okay. Right here on the bottom is a screw that you got to take loose. This one gets dirty quite a bit, so you'll want to clean it. And a couple screws right there and right there. After these 5 screws are out, you can see my side panels swinging pretty freely here. Got a final screw, I believe, that needs to come out right there. Basically, take that out, and I believe this is going to fall off. I gotta have 2 hands to catch it. We've now moved on to the left-hand side of the bike. Take off this screw and the same one down here you do for an oil change, but I'm going to be less careful with this panel because it's getting replaced. There are 2 10mm bolts in the center of your screen that you'll want to loosen up or take out to remove the plastic piece. We're trying to remove the front fairing and headlight assembly as one unit, and there are at least, I'm still counting, I'm trying to figure it out, but there are at least 4 Phillips screws that are going to have to come out to do this. The one that's mostly loose right now and its brother right behind it, and then one that's going to be hard to see until I push these wires out of the way. One right there, also behind these wires, and I'm assuming one on the other side just like it. At least those 4 screws are going to have to come out, and we're also going to have to do something about the headlight adjustment rod. That's going to have to somehow loosen up. I'm not sure how yet. I'm going to figure that out. In order to get a clear shot to remove this screw up here, you need to remove these wires. The first step in that is to this little plastic screw head prise out of that hole. So you just got to use a flathead or pliers and kind of pull that out of there. And then these relays are on this rubber bracket, which you can kind of see right there, and that has to pull up off of this silver metal piece. So this is the final Phillips screw that has to come out, which is holding the front headlight assembly in. And I'm slowly trying to loosen it on camera. And alright, I'm gonna need two hands to really do this, but you can see where it is. FYI, your LED connector over here is right there. Okay, that comes out. That's your turn signal. Okay. Yeah. It's raining, it's pouring, the old man is snoring. Yeah, there's apparently severe thunderstorm warning, tornado watch right now. Springtime in Iowa. It's a good time to be in the garage working on the bike. Okay, let me see if I can show you a little bit better what we've got going on here. We're trying to remove the front headlight assembly. Excuse me. Front fairing and headlight assembly is trying to be removed right now. And as I already pointed out, there are 4 coarsely threaded Phillips screws that screw the headlight assembly with front plastic cowling into the front stay, which is what we're replacing. And the bottom 2 are back here. So can you see my finger? There's these wires are in the way, so I'll get these out of the way a sec. Right there is where the one on this side is, and then right across from it there's another one. And in order to get a screwdriver to line up to that, you need to loosen up this piece right here, which is yeah, I don't know, it's a plastic guard to prevent water and mud from getting up in here and to protect your brake lines and your electronics. Okay, so it doesn't have to come off, but you do have to take the 2 10mm bolts very loose or out to be able to get this out of the way so you can line a screwdriver up to these Phillips heads. And then for this screw that goes in here and then into right here, through here, into here, there's these wires right here. And as I said, this wiring harness has this little tab thing that buckles into here. And so you have to use a pliers or a flathead screwdriver and kind of just pry that out of there. And it just, you know, it's got these plastic bendy things that just go through this hole. And then this is some sort of relay connector. I don't really know what it is, but it doesn't matter. Point is that it's held onto this light silver bracket right here with by this rubber thing, and it doesn't have to come off, but you got to get the rubber thing to slide up so you can get a screwdriver to line up. Otherwise, with this piece down low where it sits, it blocks access right here to your screwdriver. So that's what you need to be able to do, is get your screwdriver like that. And so you have to slide this up. So what you got to do, don't press on the relay, but get behind it and lift up right here and right here on the rubber and push that rubber up just enough that it gives you the clearance to come and do that, okay? So that you can loosen this, all right? And now, so right now, both of the bottom ones are out, and the screw on this side is out, and this whole piece is wiggling like that, okay? And then what I realized, I was concerned that we were gonna have to remove our headlight adjustment somehow, which is this rod right here. But I realized it's the way this is designed, this rod just slides out of this adjustment screw, so it'll just come straight out. So the final thing I think that's going to have to be disconnected, in addition to the one other screw on the other side still holding it, is the electrical for the headlights. And so this white one, I think, is your LED running light on the 2015. And so that is got that connector right there. I will disconnect. And then here, whoop, I'm sorry. Here is our bulb. I'm not exactly sure yet how to disconnect that. I know this thing flips up and gives you access to the wires, but I don't think I'm supposed to take those wires out. I know this rubber grommet piece pulls out Let's see. I'm not really sure what I'm doing here, to be honest. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, so. Anyway, I'm gonna figure out how to loosen up this bulb, or how to get that loose. Just it's just a door. Stay will be loosened, and then this whole thing should just slide off, and we'll basically fully expose the wiring, the stay, and the windshield motor. So hopefully that helps you understand what's going on. Alright, it's starting to rain pretty hard here again. It had lightened up for a while, but the headlight unit assembly came off, and I need to show you what happens here. So here's my broken piece of subframe or stay that I'll need to reuse this piece right here, so I'll take that off. But there's my broken piece. But the 4 screws that hold it in here, 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 and here, those are those Phillips coarse threaded screws. And then you've got your 2 headlight adjustment rods, which I'll get. These things have this, I don't know what to call it, but kind of like a cotter key type piece on either end, and they just slide in and out. So here, this one slides in and then pops in like that. Same thing here, slides in and pops in, and then the upper piece just grabs on up here, and that's how they adjust the headlight beam. But they come out, they just pop out and pull out, pop out and pull out. Now, right, this whole piece just carefully slides off. Probably having a helper for that portion is ideal. Right here, my headlight bulbs are dangling, and I'm careful not to touch the glass. I'm debating about whether or not I should replace these while I'm here. It's not exactly easy to get to the bulbs. What I've heard is that the stock headlight bulbs should last for many, many years, so I shouldn't have to be replacing them anytime soon normally. But at the same time, I'm here. And so I don't know if I'll replace them or not, but I'll just see what they cost, and if they're not very much money, might put a new set in. We'll see. Anyway, regardless, careful not to touch the bulbs and put any oils on the lenses. Here's what the front of the bike looks like with the nose assembly gone. Down here are the bulbs, and right here. And this piece and this motor right here is our windshield motor and adjustment track. Here's the non-broken front stay, and then of course it's missing over here because it's broken off. And all these wires here are kind of in this plastic tray, and I have to figure it out yet, but my hope is that I can basically unbuckle or unscrew this plastic tray, and that it'll just lift up and I won't have to disconnect these wires. My hope, we'll see, I don't know, but my hope is that I can kind of just lift these up, get at the bolts that hold the windshield motor on, remove the windshield motor. I'm gonna have to unscrew the dash display, because obviously that's bolted to the stay, and the motor is bolted to the stay, and then that all connects under here, which I'll show you in a moment, to the frame of the bike. But the good news is the UPS man came about 15-30 minutes ago and dropped off all my new parts. So I've got my new stay sitting over here in the garage that I can reference to see where the holes are, and so that'll help me. And but like I said, we just got to figure out how to get this motor track off of here, and get these wires out of the way, get the dash loosened up, and then the stay should come out. And then we can just put the new one back in and we'll be on our way back to reassembly. Okay guys, let's talk about what has to happen to get the stay out. Over here we have the old stay that just came out, and there's the new one from UPS that arrived today. And I kind of assumed that the windshield motor and track would need to come off first, and then you would take off the stay after that. That's not the way it ended up working out for me. I was only able to get 3 or 4 of these 10mm bolts that hold the stay in place loose while it was, or excuse me, that those 10mm bolts secure the windshield motor to the stay. And there's several of them. I'm not sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's like 10 of them, 9 or 10 of them. And I was only able to get 3 or 4 of them loose with minimal effort while it was installed in the bike. And I realized that what you need to do is transfer the windshield motor from the old stay to the new stay with the stay off the bike. So what you need to do is, I'll show you where these, what comes out and where it goes. Now what I know has to come out, it's actually not as bad as it seems. You've got 3 Phillips head coarse screws that hold the electronic dash gauge cluster to the stay. Unscrew those with a Phillips screwdriver. That will of course loosen up the dash, or the dash. You've got these 2 5mm hex head bolts with round bottom nuts on the bottom, and these secure that tray bracket with the cables I was talking about, and they come through right here and here on the stay. So there's one right here and one right here, and they come right there, and once these are loose, that bracket of cable should be able to wiggle around and move. And so then you've got your gauge cluster loose, and those cables are loose with that. And then if you didn't already figure it out, there's these 2 5mm screws here. And what these do is they hold the light silver bracket to the stay, which that light silver bracket has a bunch more wires and relays and such attached to it, but it's just attached to the stay with these 2 bolts. So that these 2 will come out, and that releases all the cables basically. So all you need to do now is actually remove the stay itself from the frame and disconnect only 2 electrical connectors. This white one right here, and let's see, where'd the other one go? Oh, yeah, this one. Yeah. So this, I don't know for sure. I want to say this is going to be your ambient temperature sensor, because that's what it looks to me to be. So you just have to disconnect this wire, which is your ambient temp sensor, and disconnect this piece right here, which is your motor operation, and it has this push tab which goes into that plastic bracket, so that'll just pop out with the pliers, help squeeze the bottom tabs, and it'll pop out and disconnect. So you've got here 2 bolts that bolt directly into the front of the frame, and they're 14mm nuts on either side with bolts going through that you have to take loose. And then there is a ridge on the top of your frame that sits into this. So once those bolts are out, and after those nuts were loose, I actually had to get a piece of aluminum and tap on those bolts to get them to slide back through due to the weight, I think, on the stay. So I got those bolts to slide through, and then you have to lift up to get this piece to come up off that piece and then slide forward. And the only other piece is right here. This is a 10mm bolt that the battery box attaches to in the front of the battery box that help support that. And then this whole piece will come out. And now what we just need to do is take all these 10mm bolts loose, which secure the windshield motor and track to the stay, and transfer them to the new stay, and also take all these rubber grommets off. Anywhere there's a rubber grommet, take that off and transfer it to the new stay. And once we've done that, we're ready to start reassembly. So I hope that I've effectively explained what needs to come out to be able to remove this. I know that if I had if I had the information that I'm trying to convey to you at the start, I would have been able to finish this a lot quicker. As is, with trying to film and not being exactly sure what needs to come loose to get this out of here, it took me 5 hours to get to this point. It started around 1 and I got it out about just before 6 o'clock. And you know, there was some breaks in there. I mean, I'm on my own time. I'm not working in a shop, of course. But if I had to do this all again, start from the scratch and do this all again, knowing what I know now, I think I could get it done in about 3 hours from start to having the stay out. So hopefully, if you ever have to do this, you could do the same by watching this video. So I'll take the windshield motor out, transfer it to the new one, and then the rubber grommets, and then I'll see if I can give you some filming of how it goes back together and so forth, and maybe that'll help clear a few things up. So, of course, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below, and I'll respond to them as quickly as I can. Okay, here I am putting the front stay back in with the new one. These cables have a, they snap into this side hole of the front stay. Okay, so these snapped in, and then, like I said, you've got that ridge that it has to clear on the top piece, so we'll slide up over that and drop down on top of it. Okay, and now it's sitting there in place, and I can bring my bracket of cables back down, and my dash will set right here, so I'm in good shape that way. Let's see. So now I just need to put in the bolts. and they'll slide in from the left side toward the right. And so let me see, I don't know what you can see on the camera at the moment, but I'm going to slide these in here to hold it in place nonetheless. You might have to wiggle the stay around to get them to slide through, because, you know, it's just the way it goes. Okay, they're started in. They gotta go in together because they've got a, it's one bracket bolt assembly thing. Okay, through. And let me get those 14mm bolts started on the other side. There's one started. And this one's a little bit tougher to see and get to on the top. Okay, it's started. Okay. And then here's our bolt that goes in by the battery box. Let me see if I can move the camera. I'm going to run out of battery soon, so hopefully I don't before I shoot this. So, right there. Did I line that up okay? Yeah, I think I did all right. I might have made a mistake. I think this piece has to slide inside the battery, or the battery box piece has to be on the outside of the stay, and that didn't happen. It's on the wrong side. I'm gonna have to loosen up those two bolts and correct that. But then this bolt will slide right in here, basically. Okay, get this side screw started, or tightened up even. This is right next to the battery. This is the one screw holding the battery box to the stay. It's 10mm bolt. Just get that one started in and tightened in before you slide this piece into the main part of the stay, securing it to the frame. So this slides in both holes from the left side, and the nuts come over here and tighten it up, and it pinches the stay onto the frame. So and you can see, hopefully, there's this kind of slot notch. So here's the stay on the inside, and the silver of the battery box holder on the outside, and this notch cut out where that slides in. And the first time I did this, that was backwards, so that's what you need to get right. Okay, quickly before I run out of battery, the 14mm nuts that hold the stay to the frame get 23 foot-pounds of torque. Anything that's 10mm, including what holds the windshield motor to the stay and the battery bracket to the stay, is 7.2 foot-pounds. I definitely use a torque wrench to the frame. I did not use a torque wrench on those 10mm. I know 7.2 foot-pounds. That's hand tight, good and snug with a 1/4 inch ratchet. I can do that one by hand. This particular cable management holder goes around all of these cables over here on the left-hand side of the bike and clips together like that, and then it buckles into the plastic piece like so. Okay, that it does that, and yes, that looks right. Then of course there's those two bolts I told you about that go right there. Excuse me, I better do it so you can see. Right there, and down in here with those 5mm hex keys with the rounded bottoms that hold this in place. This cable right here is your cable for your windshield power motor. Reconnect that. and it pops out into right there. And let's see, do that a moment. That in place, boom. Okay, so that's in place. And then right here is your ambient air temp sensor. Connects right like that. The rest of these didn't have to get disconnected. So those cables should all be untouched. And I'll put the bolts in for that. And then your 3 screws that hold your instrument cluster in. Right, here's one at the top. And I'm gonna lose battery any moment. So down here, you get the point. Hopefully that helps you get the stay out.
I'm so sorry, Secretariat. I didn't mean to. I still feel awful. I'm probably gonna feel awful for the rest of my life.
Okay. Where you're standing.
Where do you want me to stand?
I got to be able to see right there. And so we need.
Can't really see that close in. There we go. There we go. I see it. I see the hole.
Yeah, I know. That's what she said.
I know.
Okay, so this is one of the Allen key bolts for holding the bracket of cables on. Does that go through or not?
Nope. Oh, come on. Let me hold the flashlight.
Alright, see this right here? This is the silver bracket that's held in by these 2 5mm Allen hex keys. And so let's see if I can't get them started. Come on. Seriously? There it goes, I think. Yeah, okay, started. Okay, same thing on the other side. There is this thing. Come on. Why can't I? Started. Okay. Alright. And that is all the bolts that hold the stay in place. Don't forget to put these pieces back on your stay for your mirrors before you put on the front nose cowling. But she's going back together pretty easily.